investigators, sheriff deputies, Mr. Copeland and his counsel met together. None of the defense team, to my knowledge, was aware that this was going on. And then somehow that email was CC'd to me. That never...
Mr. Steele, can I interrupt you for just a second? I'm kind of disturbed because that's ex parte. All that was an ex parte conversation. How did you find out about any of that?
Well, I'm disturbed too. What I was told was that Mr. Copeland said...
And you haven't answered my question yet.
I'm not going to answer that question.
You're not?
No, I will not answer that question.
Why will you not answer that question?
Because I want to make sure that what I say is accurate, and I'm not trying to get anybody else...
I'm asking you, how did you get this information?
I'm not telling the court. What I'm saying is based upon information...
Okay, well, listen, if you don't tell me how you got this information, then you and I are going to have some problems.
We can have... I have problems right now.
It concerns me that you have proprietary information.
Why is it proprietary?
Or information that you should not be having that was ex parte.
Why?
With a party.
Why?
State of Georgia.
How about the witness? Why did
Sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me who tell me who this information was.
I don't want to be held in contempt. Well, I'm not answering that question.
So the Young Thug YSL RICO case is well underway. Now this case is absolutely massive, and we'll get into the specifics and the details of this case another time. But what happened recently in court has just left me in utter shock, where Young Thug's attorney Bryan Steele nearly just spent 20 days in jail beside his client. For anyone that's unaware, Young Thug was indicted by a Fulton County grand jury in May of 2022. He was charged with violating Georgia's anti-racketeering and gang laws, among other offences. The indictment said that Young Thug was the founder of a street gang called Young Slime Life, or YSL. They've claimed that YSL means a bunch of other different things. It's actually impressive what they've been able to come up with, but chaos has quite literally just unfolded inside the courtroom. So there's an individual by the name of Kenneth Copeland who returned to the stand on day 91, and the prosecution started to ask Copeland about the murder of Donovan Thomas. Now, to make a very long story short here, Copeland basically started answering his questions with a lot of things like, I don't know, and if I said it, I said it. But they were talking about a murder that happened all the way back in 2015. And the defense felt like some of the questioning implied that Young Thug was actually present in 2015. And because of this, they'd called for a mistrial. Now, what the defense is saying is that they're seeing coercion. And they're seeing the coercion between Kenneth Copeland and the prosecution. They've stated that during every single lunch break, he's always around the prosecution or certain law enforcement. And after they've had recess breaks, it seems like Kenneth Copeland seems to change his answers. All his answers go from being very vague to a lot more specific. And the defense have said that they don't really see this as being fair. They feel like he's being coerced into saying certain things because Kenneth Copeland has stated that what he said on trial isn't exactly truthful. Not only that, but prosecutors have actually told Mr. Copeland that they can hold him in jail for as long as this trial takes. And there's like 26 different individuals that need to go through this process. So what the prosecution have said to him is that until over 20 plus different individuals have been tried for this case, we're going to keep you behind bars unless you start to talk. And Steele asserted that Copeland, who is not in custody, seems to be under the influence of the prosecution, implying that he is being led or coerced. Steele questioned why Copeland would not voluntarily spend time with the prosecutors and express frustration about not having full access to all information. So then what happened, which is really shady, I've never really seen anything like this happen before, but the prosecution, the judge, and Kevin Copeland had something called an ex parte meeting, which was basically where it was no one but the judge, prosecutors, and Kevin Copeland. Now, the defense should have been notified about this. They should have at least had some knowledge that this was even going down, because it's regarding their client. And what happened was Bryan Steele has managed to get information about this ex parte meeting, and he said that it was a problematic situation because an ex parte meeting has happened without any of the defense's knowledge. But the judge then fired back by asking Mr. Steele how on earth he even had this information in the first place, because it was only meant to be between the prosecutors, Copeland, the judge, and that was it in chambers. No one else was meant to know about this information. So how is it that the defense managed to get this information in the first place? The problem with this is Bryan Steele then said that he's not going to give up that information because it's attorney-client privilege, which is an argument in itself. He is kind of correct there, yes. But the judge was not having it and was like, if you don't give me this information, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. You've got literally 5 minutes to give over this information, or you're going to spend the next 20 days in jail next to the person that you're representing. My mind was blown at this point. What the judge could have realistically just done here is privately ask the defense in chambers to tell him where he got this information and not to display where he got this information in open court or public court. And how Mr. Steele got this information could have been a separate motion in itself. The judge didn't need to completely lose his cool here and go for a contempt of court immediately. Because if Young Thug is then found guilty later on, he can just obviously appeal against this for certain things like this which have happened earlier on. And this was actually mental to think that this was even going down. But on Wednesday, the Georgia Supreme Court granted Steele's emergency motion staying Judge Glanville's order, basically meaning that no, he doesn't have to spend 20 days behind bars. So this decision means that Steele's jail sentence, which was 20 days to be served over 10 consecutive weekends starting this Friday, will be put on pause until the Supreme Court rules on his appeal of the contempt order, which his attorneys have argued was an abuse of the judge's authority. Now, this is absolutely wild and I don't even know where to begin on this case. And let me know some of your thoughts in the comment section down below and whether you think this was actually a contempt of court or whether the judge was completely out of line on this one. There's just a small update before we get into some of the specifics on what is going on in the YSL RICO trial.